Welcome to the OC Bitches.
Welcome to the OC Bitches.
Season 4, Episode 2, The Gringos.
The Gringos. So today, guys, we have one of our fabulous editors, Jeff Granzow. One of my dates. I always want to say Grasnow. That's Julie Cooper saying Grasnow, but it's Granzow.
Either way is fine.
Either way
you'll respond to.
Yeah.
That's great. We're so happy you joined us again.
Yes.
No, I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for coming back.
Josh was just here for the first episode, and he talks about how, just like the first season, in the first season, the first 3 episodes were literally like one story, and this one is the middle part of the first 3 that kind of helps wrap up the storyline of Marissa's.
Yeah, I did just watch episode 3 as well as 2, and it does seem to sort of wrap up a little bit in 3.
Yeah. So
That's the time we were allotted 3 episodes and then move on.
Yes. Well, and once again, Josh made the point that we didn't do a funeral because then it would be like a funeral, and then it's so painful and so heavy. A young person ever losing their life in an accident so tragic as this, it would be difficult for them to for the characters to even have this normalcy or even ingest what we like in the show, the balance of some humor and tragedy and comedy kind of stuff. So.
Yeah, that's one of the things I was sort of noticing watching it back is how just coming off this tragedy, how in pure Schwartzian fashion, it's just using humor to sort of diffuse everything and keep it light. And it's still, it's still super fun. But there's still these great moments that are really dark and in all 3 episodes.
And I think this first 3 episodes, it's probably the darkest our show is ever for the whole 4 seasons. I feel like, we've had some,
I'd say that was the biggest tragedy for sure.
Well, yes,
we had on the show.
I know. Poor Rachel couldn't even watch it, and then she watched it with Misha.
Yeah,
and it's
rough.
it's really important to. I was reflecting as I was driving here, thinking about doing the podcast today, and I was like, God, I realize how much these episodes meant to me personally, going into like living this tragedy, and also being very grateful for the storyline, because that's why we're actors. It's and you have to feel all those feels, and you go to that place, and I was taking it home with me for all of the episodes. And so yes, it was, and you can see it, like I can see it. There's moments also that I realized this is probably some of the most like kind of, I want to say in the beginnings, Julie, I felt like I was playing more of a character because she was all about how people saw her. And then I just see a lot of kind of more natural, like real feelings.
Oh yeah. Your performances in these episodes are just like, they're deep. You can just see it in your face. There's we can get into it at the end of the episode when you have that scene with Sandy, but you just see your lip quivering, and it's just, that's coming from a place of reality or realness to it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So we'll try and be, well, let's analyze it, and we'll be a little deep here, but because the rest of the season is going to be wacky and wild and fun.
I really have no idea what's coming, and I'm looking forward to it.
What I love about it is the freedom that the writers had when they said, we know we're not coming back, and we're going to do whatever we want.
And that was from the top down. That was just sort of the MO. Just everyone just have fun, and let's go out with a bang.
And
really,
you remember
really
that behind the scenes? It was like
just
the atmosphere.
Everyone just wanted really enjoy yourselves while you're cutting it, while you're shooting it, and yeah.
So we did. We enjoyed ourselves, guys. So let's get into the synopsis.
Yes.
Seth and Ryan travel to Mexico to look for Volchok. In Newport, Julie and Kaitlin participate in a clothing drive at Harbor High, and not high, but at Harbor High. And Julie realizes that she needs to step up more in Caitlin's life. At Brown University, Taylor pays Summer a surprise visit. Written by John Stevens, directed by Patrick Norris.
Two heavy hitters.
Yeah,
that's right.
We've had the whole time. Yeah.
Edited by Jeff Granzow. And our original air date, November 8th, 2006. It opens first thing in the morning. And Ryan is calling Julie. And saying, because he said, I just realized I have to do this. That's how he ended the last episode.
Right.
And it was like very Steven Seagal.
I'm sure he'd be thrilled with that comparison.
But they're, they're working, they're, 2 peas in a pod going, okay, they're this covert operative. Like, we're going to Mexico. And of course, Seth what's
Going
he
to
doing?
Mexico.
He's on the phone trying to track down. He's on the phone with the airline
Trying to call Summer on the airplane.
and talk to the pilot.
I need to talk to her. They're like, we're landing in 30 minutes. He's like, well, can you get the pilot? Like, he's trying to.
Well, you got to give him props for just trying anything. It's like the worst thing that can happen is it doesn't work, right? But then, of course, he picks up the landline, that old trick.
Yeah.
Which,
Oh, yeah.
do
Can't
any of
do
us
that.
have a landline?
Can't do that much anymore. I do.
Yeah.
I like to use it. I am very weird about cell phones to my brain.
Oh. No, and then AirPods. Yeah.
I don't use AirPods.
Yeah.
I still use a hard wire.
I'm contemplating getting one back just for my daughter's purposes, so she has one to use.
A landline?
Is it worth it? I don't know.
Well,
I don't
how old
know.
is she?
9.
Oh.
So instead of giving her access to a smartphone, it's like, this is what you're allowed to have,
Right.
a landline. You
Right.
can talk on the phone.
I had my own phone number growing up in my mom's house. It was my own phone line. Teen line, that's right. Probably had the see-through phone. You could see all the wires
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah, the one that you picked
It
up.
was the
like
best. And they could just call me, and it was the best thing that's ever happened
My
to me.
mom had a dance studio in Dana Point.
Yeah.
And when she retired that became the kids' number, 493-3200.
Oh,
Great number because it was
Great
a business
number.
number. Yeah, I had that one. And whenever it rang in the kitchen. We'd have to run her. Yeah.
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 That was a
But
good
that's
time.
a good idea.
Yeah, you
Seth.
should get her a landline.
All right, sweet.
Right.
So
Just
Seth,
for the,
yeah.
so she can overhear stuff, just like that.
yeah, just like that old over
The old
here,
trick.
what's going on?
So yeah, he overhears. It took 6 months for the investigator to find him. So you got to go and clearly, so instantly Seth does some kind of, writes a note. We don't know what it is yet, and he intercepts Ryan at 6 a.m. And he's like, "Hey man, help me out." And he's like, "Sorry," because he's on a mission. And then finally he just says, "I know you found him." And she's like, "Yeah, so what are you spying on me? What are you going to do about it?" And of course he's like, "I'm going with you." When Ryan's on a mission, he's on a mission. And when he's like, "What are you going to do? You're going to kill him?" And he was like, "No." And it's like, do we believe him?
What is he going to do?
What is he going to do exactly?
Right. It's like, it's really kind of that feeling of like, what's going on? Like, what is he going to do? I don't know that because he says he won't, but it's like, but we don't know. He's not actually saying what's going on in his mind. I don't think he really knows either.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and also what I'm learning is he's convinced Volchok did this on purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Seth is adamant, and he's going with him
Yeah. He gets in the car and goes with them. They're going.
Now,
to Mexico.
correct me if I'm wrong, by the way, but they get in the car. Is this not the destroyed Marissa Deathmobile that they get? I mean, it looks
Oh yeah, what
like
car
it's the
is this?
same
It's
car
like
that-
another.
He got a new
cool-
car. He got a Wrangler, and the other one was like a Toyota.
was a Land Cruiser.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got another car. We didn't really go over that. Another
it
car
looks
that like
very
fits.
similar.
Yeah, that
because
fits him.
It still seems like a kind of a jalopy, not jalopy.
Like you
but
think
something-
Dawn got him another.
Something, but yeah,
Car?
it's a beat up Wrangler for sure.
It's cool. He keeps getting the coolest cars. They're gonna go, and Seth.
Oh, so he's left a note, and the Coens are trying to decipher it, and
Oh yeah,
and they're like, "What is this?"
it
And
makes
she-
zero sense.
right.
It's like mud.
angry Nudfo chocolate love.
Yeah.
And even I had to look at it a couple times to
Did
understand.
you get it after you looking at it?
Well, they say Ryan found Volchok, but
Yeah.
there's extra letters in that, so I don't know.
It's a very interesting
I said, yeah, I didn't have time. I had
Morse
to add some
code he's
other-
got there.
Right. But I'm glad he called. I'm actually glad he called Sandy. Now, there's another thing that I noticed that's like, during that time, it was normal, probably literally right up until, because I looked this up, because right up until 2006, you could just cross the border with your driver's license, or even like you don't even need anything to cross the border.
Right.
Now
Just
you need a
coming back,
passport.
that's tough.
Yeah. Now you need
Oh really?
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even need a passport or anything to come. I mean, I think we just used our driver's license, but especially just walking across as a pedestrian, because Seth goes with nothing. He doesn't have a bag. He just goes with his clothes on, because if he leaves that
He needs
car,
chiclets.
yes, that's true. He's like, good, I need chiclets. Do
Do you think that was a Brody improv?
It was.
it was?
Yeah.
For
It
sure.
was, yeah.
Good. Yeah. Well, it's
We
true.
have
They
answers.
do offer you chiclets when you're crossing the border.
Chicle.
Chicle.
Yes.
He calls, and then, yeah, I gotta say, they're kind of cool, Sandy and Kirsten, aren't they? They're kind of like, they play it cool, like he's found, and, or I think Sandy's trying really hard not to like because every time he's like, it's okay. And Kirsten's kind of got this very worried look. And then the camera cuts to him and you get the more worried look, right? He's not trying to be too, but I'd be kind of like, as a parent, what are we thinking? Like, he's going after Volchok. We know that it takes them a few days before they want to, or not a few days, maybe it's that night or something, before they decide to go to Mexico to follow up or follow him.
Well, it's once they get down there and Seth has to call them, and then it's after all that, right?
Yeah. Well, he calls, and then of course Ryan comes out, and he's like, he's so angry. He's like, "Did you tell your dad? Did you tell your dad?" Yeah,
there's some cool like Seth Ryan tension simmering throughout this episode.
Yes,
that leads to I almost wish it lasted longer than it does.
Right.
In the season, because it's kind of cool how they just stare each other down.
And Ryan's like, you just have to trust me, man, and stop. And I don't want to have to keep looking at you calling your dad. Like, don't call him. So it's a good payoff later when he does betray him, but Ryan's intense, right?
Yeah.
Slightly.
Right.
So they go to the hotel in Mexico.
Yes,
It reminds me of a hotel when we were going to Mexico in the first season with the pubes on the bed.
I have to say, so we went to Mexico a lot as kids, as teenagers. And like I said, you just walk across or something. I have never spent the night in Tijuana. It was always just a day trip. You never did.
Oh, yeah. I did the same. When I was in San Diego, I just day tripped at TJ.
You don't stay in the hotels. There. And I guess they're technically... at first there, he says, let's go to Ensenada. And Ensenada is more touristy. But Tijuana is pretty sketchy.
Were they in Tijuana? They were in Ensenada.
Yeah, no, they stop in some, which by the way, I looked up where these locations were. And I think a lot of it is shot near Exposition Park and near USC. Oh. Although the motel was actually in Studio City on Ventura Boulevard.
No way.
Yeah.
I bet it's not there anymore.
Little exterior. Yeah, I don't know if it is or not.
Yeah, I also remember grabbing some just random stock shots of beat up hotels and stuff to try to watching this back too. I was kind of like, how much are we buying? How much are you guys buying Mexico? And how well did we come across with that? Because I don't know. It's like there's a guy at the bar he's got a total American accent. Right. He's like,
Oh yeah, the guy he first talks to when he goes to the bar. I thought the same thing.
And it's interesting on Revolucion Street, which is where everyone goes to drink and party and stuff. I can understand somebody being down there and speak, but if you go into deep Tijuana, because I got lost in deep Tijuana once,
I want that story.
It's a story, man. I was actually doing a show called Tremors down in
like the movie
TV
I love
version.
That movie.
And they were shooting at Fox Studios in Ensenada, and you have to, if you drive over the border, you have to make this hairpin turn to get to Ensenada, and we missed it, and we found ourselves in deep Tijuana, and it
Real
was
life Tremors.
Scary. We got lost, essentially, and we were trying to get to set to work at 5 a.m. the next day. Anyway, it's a long story, but we finally got there, but it was pretty scary.
I want to see that show.
I was so scary. I was so nervous. I threw up later.
Oh my God.
No.
Jeez. But I agree with you on the cat. It was a little odd. The guy who worked at the bar. It was a little like, okay, what's happening here?
Yeah, right.
And then there's a woman there that clocks that he's looking for a Volchok. It's hair wash day. Look out. But you just don't have the time for the wash, dry, and style routine, so you whip out the hat or slick it back into a pony or a bun for the 4th day in a row, which I always do. I am a fan of the bun. I am an often bunner. But with Living Proof, I can go that extra day thanks to their incredible dry shampoo. Both of Living Proof's dry shampoos clean and care for your hair like a rinse-out formula and still leave hair with a soft, silky, and freshly washed feel. I really love Living Proof Perfect Hair Dry Shampoo. Honestly, my hair, I let it go a little too long. And thanks to this, I can just get away with it most of the time.
Living Proof understands that there's no one-size-fits-all solution for all hair types and textures. Not sure what products your hair really needs? Instead of guessing what my hair needs, I start by taking Living Proof's AI online healthcare quiz, which analyzes my specific hair care needs and styling goals. I am so glad that this podcast actually introduced me to Living Proof because my hair, it's very thin and it's very soft, but
it's very pretty.
It's very pretty. I just had a hair day yesterday. And I used like the mask and then I put the oil in and it really does. I woke up this morning, I'm like, it is so healthy.
Mm-hmm. Stop concealing your hair on those wash days and show off your hair's natural brilliance with Living Proof. Visit livingproof.com/theOC and use code THEOC to get 10% off your first purchase.
That's livingproof.com/theOC. Code THEOC for 10% off your first purchase. livingproof.com/theOC. Code THEOC. When they got to the motel and he says, Seth says, I have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And there were a ton of bloopers with that where he's making jokes about going number 2.
Yeah. It's sort of, I think I kind of remember that because I remember you sitting there talking about spiders and
yeah,
I think that's the one we
magazines and there's a big spider and, and yeah, there was you can
that
look
would drive me out of the room too, which is Brody talking in the bathroom. That much.
So of course, Ryan ditches him.
Yeah, he's out.
He's out. He's out.
Is this where Seth goes to the bar?
Yeah, Seth goes to another bar.
I had no recollection that Steve-O was on the show.
Okay, so talk about some serious stunt casting.
Yeah. So when you get the script and you read the script and it says things like, never leave a man behind and what are you doing? And then I was not expecting it to be Steve-O. And you get the dailies and you got this guy just yelling his head off the whole time and
screaming.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is not what I expected. But it was great. And he just kept going on and on about, he's shot, so at the end of the scene, like they just kept going and riffing, and I put together the scene in a way that was like I just included everything. I was like, whatever, screw it. I'm throwing everything in, and so by the time it got to Josh, he's just like, Granz, like settle down. We don't need all this, and so I cut it back, and then it got later in the process. There's like he's like, I think we need to check in with the bar again, one more time. It's like, all that stuff you added at the end of them just riffing. Like, can we just make a little mini scene of that? And then so I did that, and you'll see that we cut back to the scene, and it's literally just Steve-O just going nuts and just saying shots 50 million times. It's clearly not scripted, and Brody's doing his thing, and it worked because it was like. We cut off of that to Sandy and Kirsten then deciding to go to Mexico, and it ended up being kind of a nice segue.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you wouldn't notice that. I mean, it's like, because I did think the same thing. I'm like, is this scripted? Because he's like, we're going to do some shots, and then we're going to find your friend and do more shots.
I wonder, so you think he was just yelling on his own accord? Like that wasn't a direction?
Yeah.
Well, and I was like, this was, I did my little research trying to figure out like how like MTV or Jackass was at its height, and Steve-O went to clown school. Barnum and Bailey Clown School.
What?
Yeah. And didn't end up being, but he ended up being a clown on some cruises and such. And that's what he first did. And then, but then he started doing these videos where he would do these silly tricks, and then Jackass happened and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's one of those cameos the Marines were from Camp Pendleton. They were pretty notorious. Everybody went to Mexico to party on the weekends, so it's a pretty realistic story.
They weren't saying Steve-O was a Marine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just kidding.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
although he didn't end up helping him find his friend, because Marines are supposed to find the friend. Anyway.
I don't know much about Marines.
So, but in the meantime, you're right. Kirsten's back home and she's putting clothes together for the drive. But I just wanted to mention really quick when they were doing that. And he says, there's she's giving away 2 leather jackets, and it's Ryan's and Sandy's. Do you get rid of a leather jacket like Ryan's? Never.
No.
And then poor Sandy anyway, I just want to make that point because I was like, you don't get rid of jackets like that. You keep those forever.
Yeah.
But if Ryan is doing that, Ryan's getting rid of a lot of things. Like he got rid of all of his memorabilia for Marissa, and now he's getting rid of like the old him. He's like,
he's shedding it off.
He's shedding it off. Yes. But then you said they cut to this, they're adults. We should trust them, which is just crazy talk. I mean, literally, this is the consequences of what Ryan could do are so enormous. even if he does want to talk to him, what if Volchok hurts him? Or what if he does something that puts him in jail? I mean, it's just, there's no good that can come out of this. And finally, they're like, we're going to go. Let's go to Mexico.
Yeah. And
Although when we see them walking around, I'm always surprised when Kelly, or she decides or chooses, she doesn't have a purse a lot. And
she just didn't want to carry one.
Yeah.
I would do that all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to carry a purse.
Yeah, because they always offer you a purse. And sometimes it makes sense to have it. And other times it's like, no, I just don't want it.
Yeah, it's just like baggage.
But and I also know that Kelly loves to wear sunglasses. And her glasses this time were kind of see-through. And a lot of times directors don't like you to wear sunglasses on set. But
oh yeah. Neither do I. it was you and Kelly.
Me.
We're just like wanted to wear the sunglasses, and
I always needed to. I couldn't, because when we were shooting on the beach and like the
lot.
sun and the wind, and my eyes would just be like, all my makeup would be coming off because it was like so intense.
Right. No, the act that they
my
usually
sob
prefer to
story.
see your eyes.
Yeah, you got to see the eyes.
No one
man.
needs to see my eyes.
Come on.
But actors
I
are
don't need to
notorious
see
for
that.
fighting that.
Yeah.
And they're like, although Sandy did look pretty cool in his Ray-Bans.
Okay.
So
We learned Seth has got a tattoo. I think is very important to cover.
Yeah, it's a tattoo, man.
well, we see him the next. Well, he stumbles into that same bar.
Yes.
And he's now
Looking
playing
for, and he's telling a story, and the waitress from before overhears.
Right.
And comes out to him after, and it's like,
and
I
he's
know
like,
where he is.
yeah,
Volchok.
yeah.
Volchok.
She says, you were asking, your friend was here. Did Volchok really kill a girl? And he's like, yeah. I noticed that a lot of people say Volchok, like E-K.
Volchok.
But since Kevin Volchok is Adam's agent in real life, he actually says it correctly. He says Volchok. I noticed a lot. He's like Volchok. And a lot of people say Volchok. Anyway. Just a little observation there.
That's just a quick way to say it, maybe.
Volchok.
When you don't want to say the whole.
Volchok definitely takes more time. Volchok.
Right. But yeah, no, I love how he's like, leave now. And he's like, yeah, okay, I got a tattoo.
I love a fake drunk Brody.
Yeah.
Always a good time.
It was good.
Okay, so Seth is in the hotel room.
He's in this hotel room and he's doing the I'm so thirsty and trying to dial and talks about I'm in the room with no windows.
You know, he spent the night with Stevo.
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen the next day after that.
Right. But he says,
I do. No, I'm just kidding.
But he says, I'd like to place a call to America.
America.
Does he get through to Sandy?
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know if is it this point he does eventually. I don't know if it's here or not.
Well, he did the first time, but then does he get a hold of? Oh, he says I'm going to place a call, but we don't see that call. So yeah. So
but then Ryan arrives back at the hotel. Back to the hotel.
Yeah.
Anyone remember that song? No. He arrives back at the hotel, and Seth confronts him.
Brushing his teeth with his fingers.
I thought you were telling me I had lipstick on my teeth.
No, brushing his teeth with his fingers, and Ryan is.
Do you ever do that? Brush your teeth with your fingers?
I've had to do that a few times in my life.
Just a few times.
It usually is because you were drunk and spending the night at somebody's house.
The morning after.
Yeah.
The old finger brush.
The finger brush. But
that's what happens when you do end up sleeping over in Tijuana and you don't leave during the day.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Or anywhere for that matter.
Yeah.
So Seth tells him that he knows where Volchok is.
Well, at first he says, I didn't find him. And he's like, okay, cool, let's go home. And he goes, I'm not leaving. He's like, so what are you going to do? Start a pinata-rita? Say that.
Oh, yeah. Pinata-rita or a burrito stand or whatever. He's like listing all these things.
As far as I remember, I think the pinata, the Rio, whatever that was scripted. And then the burrito stand, I think, was something
that
he just
tracks.
said.
That tracks.
Right.
I could believe
and
that.
That's interesting. So it's like, I wouldn't have known that. I would have just assumed it was all Adam. But they pick up, the writers pick up on something and they start writing for what you do. Yeah. So it's like it becomes a competition. If they're
barbecutionist.
You don't have to improv.
Pinata-rita.
Look at the great lines we've written for you, Adam. And he's like, I'm going to one-up you.
I wouldn't be surprised if there were even more versions of that.
I can probably put money on that.
Yeah.
There were.
So as an editor, when actors do that, they might button a scene with like 6 different things and you choose the one. You can only use one. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough.
You got to
when
kill
you're
some
given,
babies.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so he
says, if you promise not to
kill him, I'll tell you where he is.
And he goes, what? What? He goes, seriously, you have to. Just tell me where he is. You know, it gets that real serious thing.
Scary Ryan.
Right. So
brooding Ryan.
And he says,
So he
Here's-
gives him the address.
and he takes off.
He sure does.
And he puts a pipe in his jacket.
I mean, yeah, that doesn't seem like you're not going to kill him.
No. And then he goes into this thing and you hear this. And then we cut to Volchok. We see him for the first time. And you hear banging. And Ryan's outside the door. He pulls out the pipe. Here we go.
Really good editing here.
Great editing.
Well, Patrick really did a nice job with all the Steadicam work on this. I remember getting this footage and really enjoying it. And, it's a classic misdirect. I mean, you can kind of see it coming, but it's it looks so cool the way he shot it. And Ryan ends up in this room, and it's interesting. You're like, how did he? Where exactly did Seth send him?
It's a lot of setup that he sent
it is a
him.
restaurant. Like you see that it's a restaurant. It's like, why does he end up in this like jail cell room in the back?
But I didn't expect it. I mean, I didn't expect
it either.
That's good.
That's good. So you think it was obvious, but I don't think it was obvious.
No, it wasn't obvious at all. I had no idea what was going to happen.
Because then the banging for Volchok, we open the door, it's empty for Ryan, but it's Seth for Volchok.
I remember too dealing with the sound on the stage and everything because he's got the pipe. And then Seth is just banging on the door. He would have been banging on the door with his hand. And so we were trying to make it sound sort of metallic on the Volchok side, but you had to kind of do it. You had to kind of split the difference,
right?
Sound-wise, so you mislead the audience a little bit. But
the details that are put into things, like people to take you on this journey, people will never know the details, and it's so fascinating, especially in post-production, in sound and Foley, and which is adding sounds like footsteps and all that kind of stuff. You just never know, like how many people make your experience seamless. It's devil's in the detail. No, actually the beauty is in the detail, right? So he says, Volchok's like, well, this is a surprise. He looks fully loaded. I don't know, the Cam did some good acting there with the surprise. And he says, how'd you find me? And he says, well, the chick at the bar. And he's like, yeah, our boyfriend wants to. He's like, well, get in line because Ryan's in Ensenada, and that makes Volchok pause. He's like, oh, okay, so what, you're trying to chase me out of town? He's like, actually, no, I'm, why are you trying to help me? He's like, I'm not. I'm trying to help Ryan from murdering you. And then Seth has some wonderful words of wisdom here where he's like, why don't you just let my dad help you? Or just even planting the seed of you have this other option. And
it's cool because it almost feels like Seth is just making stuff up now to try to diffuse the situation. I don't know that he went there with the intention of bringing Sandy into it.
Yeah,
but it's kind of cool that he does.
Yeah, he's trying to save Ryan from making a fatal mistake because he can see, Ryan is motivated by the experience. I mean, obviously we know exactly what he's motivated by, but this is being a true friend, a true brother. It's like, you're not seeing it, and I am going to do everything. Like if Seth just sat by and did nothing, but and he does it calmly, even though inside he's probably like, it's a very intense situation. But Adam's performance was like, hey man, let's make it cool, and it's not cool, but why don't you take this path? And then of course we find out, that Ryan comes out of his place and Kirsten and Sandy are there. And he's like, Seth told you? And they're like, yeah, he called. And he's like, I can't leave. Volchok is here. And Seth comes in and he goes, no, he's not. He's gone. So he did take off.
Yeah. So this whole scene when he comes back into the restaurant, Sandy and Kirsten come. There's this musical thing that we did with this. We used a song by Manu Chao. It was a Spanish song. And it was just, at the time, it was just kind of like, this is a really cool kind of haunting song that I just wanted to be playing in the background of the bar. That then the score kind of overtook it in the same key, and it I wanted it to really blend together, and that the song would sort of like start washing out. And I really liked how it ended up working. And just the other day, I was sort of going back and looking at that song, and I didn't do this at the time, but I was looking at the English translation of the lyrics, and it's interesting because it almost reads like it was Misha from the grave singing this to Ryan, because the lyrics are like, it's not your fault. It's not your it's not your fault that the world is so ugly, and it's not your fault. And it keeps saying over and over, it's not your fault. And the song is called "Tears of Gold," and he's crying. He's like, you're walking down the street crying tears of gold, and it almost felt like she's saying to him, I know I know you have the best intentions, but you need to stop. So I don't know. It's kind of a deep read, obviously, but I just thought that was kind of an interesting little thing.
And Alex Patsavas, we've learned, gives you guys a list of songs. And did you pick that song, or was it somebody?
Yeah, I mean, I picked it from she had pitched it, so I think she gave us 2 or 3 from Manu Chao, and I had never heard this guy before, and it's like, yeah, this is really cool sounding. And I just put it in because it kind of had a haunting vibe to it that I thought, played the scene really well. But
for sure.
I don't think I really looked at the English. I mean, I don't speak Spanish, so I was just looking at the lyrics. I just did that the other day. I'm like, wow, this is kind of interesting how that worked out.
I love all the behind the scenes stuff that like we learned of, like Alex pitches a song, or like this, like she has to read the script and say this would be a good song. Like you need the expertise of what everyone is their specialty to put all these little, I just got chills. I love that. Yeah. I didn't know. I mean, these are little tidbits. Thanks, Jeff. Little tidbits that we need.
That almost wraps up all of Mexico.
Yeah, because they take off. But why don't we go on to what else is going on, and then we can come back to their drive home. Julie, going back a little bit, Julie's in the Dean of Discipline because she knows that Ryan's taken off, and she's just kind of obsessed with her little cell phone. Apparently, she's got this meeting with the Dean of Discipline, played by
Tia Carrere. I know.
Yeah, I know. From
Is this her first appearance?
Yeah, her first and only appearance.
Was her only one, really?
Just this episode?
Yeah. And
No?
I've known Tia through my friend. We shared a publicist.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I always thought she was so beautiful because
Yes.
I loved Wayne's World when I was younger.
Yes.
I was like, oh my God. And her song she sings.
That's where you automatically go when you see it's like
of
Wayne's World.
course.
Yeah.
I mean, amazing.
Yeah. So it was fun to have her on. I remember having her on, and we had a fun day because she had quite a few scenes. Julie goes through or me, but. Did you choose? I can see in these couple episodes that I was choosing. Well, specifically this episode, I had chosen a hairstyle that I kind of got into for a little while. This like smooth over to the side thing, and then this dress was so kind of 50s like cocktail, like afternoon cocktail dress, and with a little.
I'm trying to remember it.
It was
in my head.
Well, anyway, I just think I just remember thinking like that is such an interesting, like Julie's all over the place with her fashion sometimes, but this scene is funny because she's Dean of Discipline's asking like, what's it like at home? She's almost being a therapist, and she's like, it's fine, but you can see like Julie's very like what, I don't know, because she's so singularly minded on this getting Volchok, like
right,
and we know she's just so focused on it.
She really is,
and she's like talking about the fact that Kaitlin's been flirting with somebody, with one of the teachers, and that she's getting and for a punishment, she's like, I want you guys to do, you and Kaitlin, to do this drive.
Yeah, the clothing drive.
And is this the one where you say, do they get cell phone or reception down in Tijuana?
Do they get cell phone reception in Mexico? And she's like, and I want you to to do it with you. And she kind of looks, she goes,
yeah.
That
reaction was so priceless at the end of that scene.
Like, I was like, that's pretty funny.
You had some really good one-liners that have to do with this whole clothing drive. And you're like, are people in America really this fat? Do you know you said that? Do you remember saying that line?
Well, yeah, she says it watching the World's Dumbest Cops.
Oh, that's when you say it, right?
Yeah.
I thought it was the clothes. The clothing was about Amy Bennett buys used clothing.
Right,
that
right. She's like, Amy Bennett, like, but that's so Julie's, her perception of like the more interesting thing. It's not that it's being sold; it's that Amy Bennett buys used clothing.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I lost it when I saw
Julie and her zingers.
Her little zingers, yeah. But so when Julie goes to see, there's first you see the Ward boys, the Ward twins, shaving chest, and
ouch,
and Kaitlin. She's like talking about, they get into this conversation about how slutty mom or gay dad trumps slutty mom.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the gay jokes in this episode.
There's a
like,
lot.
We could not, that humor has changed so much.
Oh, yeah.
All of it.
Right.
It's terrible.
Right. And but then when when Julie walks in and she's like, there you are. And she just goes, she's like, their dad's gay. And it's like that's an excuse. And she's like, anyway. And then she's like, stop flirting and you're doing this. And I literally thought, now as parents, your child's not a teenager yet. But this, if there was ever a moment that kind of was like Mindy to a teenager,
It was that?
I think I've done that.
Yeah.
And she was like, and stop doing that. Like she wants to like, you're making my life, even though it seems kind of harsh, but I mean, parents do have to be strong sometimes.
Yeah.
But I think I've done that. Yeah. You haven't had to discipline quite like that yet.
No, I don't want to.
Well, when you get called into the Dean of Discipline's office, right?
That's never going to happen.
CG never got in trouble like that, but she definitely learned how to talk back, and it would get you'd actually argue. Yeah, your daughter's not a teenager yet.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Anyway, so when they are at the clothing drive and Kirsten shows up, I remember this day for some reason specifically because I just had a facial, and I had this dermaplaning, where it literally takes off, and I was so shiny. And she kept putting powder on me, and it kept kind of like just staying shiny. And I was like, that's fine. Anyway, that's my memory of it. It's funny.
That you were shiny.
Yeah. She gets interrupted from this phone call, and Ryan's like, he's not there. And she just like, like her heart drops. Like and they notice,
Yes. Yeah. You're devastated and you're showing it.
But that's also before when she's like, you mean Seth went too? And she's like, what do you mean? She's like, oh, because I just didn't think he was the donkey show type.
Yeah, that's
donkey show. And then is it Kaitlin? She's like, what's a donkey show? She's like, that's the question for your mother.
That's one section I was looking at this scene. I'm like, man, the whole donkey show conversation, I wish I cut to Kaitlin at least one or two more times just to get her.
Oh, really?
What are you talking about? Kind of.
I thought it was great though, because she's like, "What's a donkey shit?" Like it was just cut to her.
She does say it a bit, but I wish that I was on her while it was happening. The whole, just kind of just looking like.
Well, yeah, and I don't. There may have been like. I think it was more kind of an urban legend, or maybe it did happen at one point. I mean, but it's just this like classic.
You
thing.
don't think donkey shows existed?
I think it may have happened. I don't think it does now, but
Who knows?
maybe sometime I don't know where, but I think
definitely happened in the past, right?
Probably. I don't know. That's pretty insane. I don't know. We should look that one up, Katie. Did they ever exist?
You'll probably get flagged if you Google like donkey show.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh dear.
Oh, anyway, but this is where Julie now is watching World's Dumbest Cops, and apparently she's been sitting there for 18 hours, and that's when she's eating. And I noticed that as an actor, you never want to commit to eating too much, otherwise you have to eat a lot.
Yeah, you took some real
Tiny
small
bites
nibbles of that potato
Pringles.
chip.
Yeah, you were like,
awesome.
No, I'm not doing it.
That's what
Not
she's
doing
like.
it.
Are people in America really this fat?
I'm waiting for Wikipedia's answer to donkey show.
Oh God.
So yeah,
it's
bestiality. Yeah.
Well, I knew it was real.
We know what it is, but did it really happen? I'm sure. Okay. So
Yeah.
it's in Wiki. So anyway.
If Wiki says.
Apparently, it was on Josh's mind at any rate.
Yeah, let's just,
you
know what? That came from the mind of Schwartz.
Yeah.
Or John Stevens.
Well,
oh, right. John Stevens wrote this.
We'll be interviewing.
We'll put it on him. We'll ask him.
Yeah,
the first question. Have you been to a donkey show?
All right. But then when Kaitlin says, I'm going to the clothing drive because some of us, she says, I want a life. And because some of us are still alive. Kaitlin, we haven't been seeing her grieving too much. She's a little bit,
yeah. She's in her feelings of like, I'm still here.
Right. Yeah.
So.
And she's doing a lot of kind of what you're doing is trying to do other things to avoid
just distract and avoid
having to get
she's
feelings out.
Yeah, she's also one of those kids that probably because she hadn't spent that much time with Marissa, she wasn't that close, and we're not actually spending that much time on her character. She's dealing with it in a way that I'm just going to go about my life, and she might be one of those characters or people that has to deal with it later on in life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she goes to the clothing drive, and Dean pulls her aside again. It says
she's been selling clothes.
Somebody's been selling clothes because Amy Bennett buys used clothing.
I know. By the way, it's pretty smart.
Yeah, she's like, oh crap.
Yeah.
So that's when she brings her home, and I could tell sometimes when, I don't know, I notice this like about, but when she's like, I can't do this. I can't do this. Like Julie is still not taking care of Kaitlin. She's not doing the right thing. She should be sitting down and saying, how are you doing about this? But she's not there yet at all.
Right.
In fact, instead, she's like, I need you. In fact, Caitlin's being the more mature one. She's acting the way a parent should. She's being cool, calm, collected. She's like, Mom, are you okay? And she keeps asking her, are you okay? And instead, Julie's just telling her, I need you to stop fucking around. And then she gets a phone call and takes off. So.
Yes. Let's go to Brown.
Let's go to Brown.
Summer, on arriving back at Brown, sees that Che is spearheading a protest.
A tree sit-in.
A tree sit.
Yeah.
A tree sit-in.
Tree sit-in? I don't know.
Oh.
Is that right?
Because they want to cut down a tree.
Che's like, Summer, where have you been? Your spirit. And you're like, I was at home. My family needed me. And I bet you were an eagle in your past life.
Yeah.
Soaring through the mountain passes. And Summer's
anytime Chris Pratt's on the screen is always my favorite.
Chris Pratt his character just kind of defines this whole season. I mean, he this was before Chris Pratt was megastar Chris Pratt. But even I remember, seeing him and just being like, oh, I'm surprised he's doing the show, because he just came off Everwood and had a pretty big role on that, and it's like, this is cool. We get this guy, and his whole character was just insane, the whole thing, and he just played it perfectly. He was so
committed. It was so awesome.
Oh yeah,
and committed, and I think like in what he'd learned, or I'm sure I'm not speaking for him, but when you do a series on television and you do it for 9 months and 10 months, I've said this, you actually. You take risks, and he made choices, and he went and he committed to them, and it wasn't, and he did it enthusiastically, and he was there, and it's like something actors bring to, I mean, anybody can like memorize dialogue and do it, but when you have the luxury of being on a show for so long, you start taking chances and playing around, and he was doing it automatically, and it brought so much, and so the writers see it and the editors see it, and it's like. It was a breath of fresh air, because all of these other characters are really dealing with something. So we need something to bounce off of.
Right.
So,
And he's in his own world and is very bounce-offable.
Yes, very bounce-offable.
Yeah.
So Summer, we see Che, then she goes to her dorm room and she finds, surprise, Taylor is in her bed.
She's like, checks her messages and there's nothing there. And she hears,
what? I always wear this.
Yeah, I always wear this.
You're like, what are you wearing?
Yeah, I always wear
it. Do you want to get in and cuddle?
Yeah.
Come on.
I really love Taylor.
Oh my gosh. I just love her. Every time she comes on screen, I just love. She's like, what are you doing here? And why aren't you in France? And how did you get here before me?
I know. Which I still wonder, but and Taylor, it's very funny. She's like, Summer is not shaving her legs.
Oh, well, she wants to tell like what happened in France, and then she all of a sudden looks down, and they do a close up of your feet. Were those your feet?
I don't know. I don't think I was paying attention.
I was just going to ask the same thing. I don't remember if that may have been stunt feet.
How bad was it?
Well,
it was so close up.
It was super close up. It wasn't like gnarly.
Were they like hairy feet?
No, it wasn't gnarly. It was just that it was like black toenail polish, and you could see white all around it. Like you could see the nail.
Yeah, that's probably mine.
Yeah, you probably did. Well, I
can show you right now. It's
weren't
the
you
same
flying
thing.
back and forth doing the movie at this point?
At that point?
Yeah,
probably.
Yeah. Anyway, so that kind of sidetracks her, and she doesn't tell you about that.
Right.
But
and then I love when she meets my roommate Amber. It's hilarious.
It's a reason for Taylor to observe your side of the room, which is all about activism, and then her side of the room, or at first she's just looking at Summer stuff, and then when she shows up, Amber shows up, and she says this like, oh, and Summer doesn't have any pictures, and you have all these pictures, and it is a comment on society that she says, well, men can do whatever they want, and if women do it, you think I'm a slut, right?
Right.
And
we also learn that she doesn't even know that Summer has a boyfriend, so we're realizing Summer's really concealing her old life.
Right.
So then Taylor goes to the tree set and wants to know what's going on.
She yanks you aside. And
with
like,
Che.
And she's like, what? And forces you to call and talk to Seth.
Yes.
And I love you're like, because you're hiding, or you don't want to discuss,
deal.
or I don't
want to deal.
And it's some, what
avoiding,
did you say?
Avoider.
some Mexican guy.
Yeah, I love that. She comes into the tree scene. She's like, "Move it, hippies," and then she forces you to make the call. And then I love that she ends up talking to the guy in Mexico, and as soon as
boss, who's speaking?
Yeah, and then the music changes to the Spanish kind of guitar. And
yeah.
Oh, see, oh my gosh, that's hysterical.
Yes.
So yeah, she takes off and gets involved. Like she really is like a little cat with a sparkly ball. Like, oh, I'm gonna go here. Oh, I'm gonna go here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but yeah. So
then we learn what happened in France, and Taylor and Summer get into like a blowout fight.
Yeah, when she shows up the next day and she's getting ready to leave, and
she has the espresso machine.
Yeah, well, then Summer's like, "Have you ever tried sleeping outside? You can't turn the stars off." Now, and then it kind of escalates where she's like, you need more help than I do, and I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go take care of my thing. And Summer all of a sudden starts going, Che is just a friend. I don't do love triangles anymore.
Right.
And which is funny. Story. That's funny. But then when Summer starts screaming at her and going, and we're not talking about you, avoider.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, if you ever do get in an argument, is that the way you argue?
I only yell, "You're an avoider."
Avoider, do you?
That's my line. That's my go-to. I definitely can. I'm half Italian. I can get a little temper. I can yell.
I just thought that, like, I was like, oh, that was Mindy disciplining CG, and I was wondering if that was you. Like, stop it.
I mean, with my brother, good Lord. Or a boyfriend that bothers me.
Right. Yeah, no, we don't do that now. But in your life. But I love it when sometimes you
get
see
heated.
the real
I can get
Rachel.
heated.
Yeah.
That wasn't me. No, but I can get heated.
Yeah.
That was like more funny.
Definitely.
Yes.
It was cute. It was cute.
That's
but then when
cute.
she leaves and you're like, and what's a stupid espresso machine? It's a gift. She goes, au revoir,
And then she goes
Summer.
back the opposite way.
It's a gift.
I liked that move. It's a gift.
Well, and I love these things where I'm like, I wonder if that was a mistake, or go out one way and come back the other. And if it was,
I think that was all Patrick.
It was,
all Patrick.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we see, and Summer tries to write Seth, and she just can't. So
that was so sweet, though. Even the actual voiceover, because they probably had you record it, and you were like,
"Oh yeah,
dear Seth,
dear Seth, I just can't.
Oh, the horror.
Please, sir.
I can't do it." But it was still so sweet.
Yeah, I love that whole little montage, the letter and into the driving. And
do you, as an editor, do you like doing the montages because they tell a story and they move the story along a little quicker, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, in fact, I had Alexi Murdoch, Blue Mind, in this whole sequence, and it works. Even going back, this is one of the things where you go back and you're like, I really miss that song. 17 years later, but Josh watched it and he's like, I don't know if we can use this song because we're using Alexi Murdoch at the end of episode 3. I'm like, damn it. He's like, I don't know yet, but then he came back. He's like, yeah, we got to scrap it. And,
really?
It did. The song they used at the end of episode 3 was great, and it would have been really weird to have them in both episodes. But yeah, it's just one of those things. I'm like, I really miss that song.
I mean, is it weird thinking back in hindsight to have songs like? It's not the same song. It's
no. They ended up. We ended up using a Band of Horses.
Oh yeah, I really loved it. It was really good here.
It was great, but it's one of those, like, I cut it very specifically to the Alexi Murdoch song, and then swapped it out in the Band of Horses, and it ended up dropping in. But yeah, it's just me whining. 17 years later.
You remember things you remember.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so before the episode ends, you wanted to comment on the drive home from Mexico.
Well, they're in the car, and Seth with Sandy and Kirsten with Ryan, and that's when, Sandy's, Seth is pretty mellow. Like he's hungover. That's true. And he's had a tattoo, and Sandy's looking at his tattoo, and he's like, the artwork is wonderful, but what does it say? Senorita Vixen. And he goes, it's gay. That's what you were going to say. It's gay. And I'm like, gosh, with the gay jokes. Mm-hmm. But then Sandy says, finding Volchok would have taken money, and it keeps going back to one person. And Seth's like, leave me out of it. And then Kirsten says something very heartwarming. She's like, my biggest fear was that Seth was going to was going to be in danger. You'd take him away and do something. And now I have to worry about 2 boys.
Right.
And, Ryan is just so like stone cold. And when they get back to the house, I guess Kirsten and Ryan got there first, and he's like, did he say anything about me? And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, I bet he's mad. And he walks up to the door and he just pulls the shades, locks the door.
Yeah.
Which means like, don't talk to me. And all I kept thinking was like, just give him time. He's your brother. He loves you. Just give him time. And he feels betrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah. He feels betrayed.
Well, in Mexico too, that's the way that it's the restaurant scene ends when Sandy and Kirsten come. It just ends with the 2 of them staring each other down, which is I like that moment even better than the one at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's
no
like
shit's about to go down.
The consequences of that, and like that. Like he needs some kind of closure, and it's just, it's like something that's eating at him, and he and Julie have this singular purpose right now. Like he didn't have it before. Julie's had it, and now he's jumped on that bandwagon. And Summer runs to the airport and
makes up with Taylor.
As soon as she goes, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry too.
Yeah.
She just jumps on her.
It's cute.
And she tells you that she got married to Henri Michel. And she's like, you got married, Summer. That's when I remember.
You mean Taylor?
Taylor.
Summer definitely didn't get married.
I got married.
Yeah, setting up episodes of Henri Michel bringing joy into all our lives.
That's a whole storyline.
Do we see him?
Oh yeah,
oh, he's great.
It's a lot.
Oh, I can't wait.
Taylor's got a
you'll have fun
huge
with that.
Storyline.
Great.
That the character.
I can't wait. I'm most excited for Taylor. So Sandy discovers that it's you that sent them.
Yeah. So when he says, "Thanks for meeting me," and sit down, and he's like, "After everything we've been through, you would send our kids on a murder mission." She's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And finally, she goes, "I don't have time for this," and he goes, "Sit down." And I remember this because I thought the line was, she says, "At least you still have all your kids." And I wanted to say, "At least you still have both your kids."
Still worked.
Still worked.
Very,
but it was
impactful.
It was cool to see them kind of like, and she got caught, but she didn't like go, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." She just, it ends with her just going,
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. You had this way of doing it though, where it was like it was half anger and half just devastation. I mean, you have this devastation on your face.
Yeah.
It's just like it's more than just anger. It's just like it's just the perfect mix.
Yeah.
Of everything going on.
Yeah,
in your
it's
head.
not just one thing. Oh, I found out. It's like,
Yeah.
oh shit, they found out. And yes, I sent him on them because she did. She sent him. Like,
yeah.
He doesn't deserve jail. He deserves what you can do. And like, that's pretty awful, actually. It's pretty awful that she would send him on a murder mission.
Well, it's Julie Cooper.
This one ends still pretty heavy. We still have some closure needed for our OC group.
Yeah.
It's still not not good.
No, it's still not good. But that was the episode, The Gringos.
Yay.
And now we have some trivia for you, Jeff.
Oh boy. Try my best.
Yep. This game is called Finish the OC Quote from this episode.
Don't look at it. No, just kidding.
Oh yeah, don't look.
Right.
What did Taylor say when Summer said, "Taylor, you got married"? Then Taylor says, A, "It's Paris, the city of love, and that's what people do." Or B, "It was Paris. It seemed like the thing to do."
B.
Are you looking at the screen?
No, I'm not.
Just kidding. Yes, you're right. You're right.
So Seth says to Ryan, "So did you kill him? I mean, that was the plan, right? The real plan, not the lie you told me when you said, 'Trust me, man,' A, or 'You're just going to have to trust me.'"
You're just gonna have to trust me.
It was A.
Trust me, man?
Trust me, man.
Yeah, I wouldn't have got that either. Don't worry.
I know, that was...
Okay, Kaitlin says, "You haven't moved in 18 hours. Is everything okay?" Then Julie says, A, "It's fine. The world is an immoral toilet bowl, and one day we'll all be flushed."
It's that one.
Okay.
He knows the toilet bowl well.
What's B?
B is, "It's fine. The world is a shady toilet bowl, and one day we'll all be flushed."
It's shady toilet.
It's the same thing. Wait a minute. Oh, whatever.
Okay. Quote from Taylor and Summer. Taylor says, "When was the last time you shaved your legs? It's like a forest. And, oh my God, your toenails." And Summer says, "Okay, yeah, I don't do that stuff anymore." Then Taylor says, A, obviously you've got Hobbit feet, or B, obviously you've got Flintstones feet.
Hobbit feet.
Oh, good.
That's right.
There you go.
Not the first time I've been... I'm just kidding.
So we also have some fan questions from via email. And the first one is... Question 1 is from Aaron. I have some random questions about how filming on location works. In the first episode of season 4, Summer is at Brown and they show shots of Providence and then the gates in front of Brown. Then they cut to her and Che at a table on campus. Did they actually go to Brown to shoot some of your scenes, or is it all stock footage of that area? Or do they send one cameraman to Brown to get these shots, or hire a local to get those general shots? Thanks for keeping us entertained.
Well, they did not film the scenes in
We were at
Providence.
SC. We were at USC.
Yeah.
It's a combo of all that stuff.
I don't know if...
It's probably stock footage.
I'm sure it was stock footage, although there's the one of the gates. I mean, yeah, we didn't go to Providence and shoot stuff.
Schwartz at the time,
but
his
it looked
parents
pretty-
still lived in Rhode Island. He probably sent old Steve Schwartz to the gate, pearly gates.
Yeah, right,
Just
maybe.
kidding.
if it's an establishing shot of a real thing like the Empire State Building or a bridge or something, there is stock footage available for any of that. So if that was actually a shot of Brown, they would get stock footage probably.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably students walking through the shot, and you know, even the stock footage will even have stuff like that,
Right.
That they intentionally try to shoot stuff like that.
And then they used USC, and then all of those scenes were shot at USC.
USC, yes.
Yes, there we go.
Okay, question 2 is from Sam. Hi, Rachel and Melinda. Love your podcast. Hearing your thoughts and your guests behind the scenes details. Your dynamic is so great and fun to listen to. I was listening to the podcast episode, The Party Favor, Season 3, Episode 23, and I would say the party favor is the 5K that Volchok left the party with. What do you think was the party favor?
Because that was the prom, and we kept saying what was
Is
the
that
actual
where I was
party
drunk and
favor.
fell off the stage?
Yeah.
That's the party favor to me.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
Well, and also they always use these titles as a play on words. Obviously, the Gringos are the two boys that go to Mexico.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would think the party favor was insinuating the money that he stole.
Right.
I think you're right,
And
Sam.
did anybody do somebody a favor at the party?
What kind of favor?
yeah.
At prom, I mean, those
Right.
favors happen at prom.
There were some favors going on. Like you did a favor to
I wasn't talking about those favors, Mindy.
You took the K-pop guy. That was a favor.
I did take the K-pop guy.
Yeah.
For some reason, you falling off the stage is like, when I think of season 3, that's the first image that comes to mind.
Well, we talked about that because with Michael Lang, that
Yeah,
it was
I was
a
like
stunt.
adamant that I wanted to do the stunt myself.
Yeah.
And he was like,
Oh, right, yeah. And then,
no, absolutely not.
And the stunt woman, you know what? That was very slapstick because it was
great.
she was on some kind of like springboard that went boing.
Yeah.
yeah, and she like flipped over. Yeah, I guess. And then when I saw it, I was like, I don't want to do it.
Oh man.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that is it for the Gringos. And Jeff, thank you so much. You
Yes.
told
Oh,
us
thank
so
you,
many
yeah.
little things that
we
I mean,
love it.
That's why we love having editors, because you guys are literally there putting things together
Yes.
with details that I would never know. We would never know.
No, ever.
yeah, well, it's great to hear your take from the set as well.
What we remember, that is.
Yeah. Well, saying what we all remember.
Yeah, right?
I know, right?
I don't know. I don't remember half this stuff either.
Well, thank you so much for listening.
Thank
Follow,
you.
rate, and review Welcome to the OC Bitches wherever you listen to your podcast. If you like to watch us, check it out on YouTube. And you can now listen to bonus features as well as Season 1 and Season 2 of the OC Bitches on Cast Plus. Bye, bitches.
Bye, bitches.
Thanks,
Bye, bitches.
Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the OC Bitches is brought to you by Cast Media. Executive produced by Colin Thompson, Harris Lane, produced by Katie Curtwright,
Edited by Parker Flores and our technical engineers, Travis Holden and Dustin Park.